What if you were to look at life with a little bit of a smile, with a little bit of fun, instead of always being serious? Today is about connecting and doing so in a playful way. And you would be surprised how that could help you move forward in life, but also in business. Because when it comes to connection, because that's what we ultimately want to talk about, nothing is more important than actually seeing one another, being aware of one another, being available for the other one, and do so with attention. And well, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm using this framework. I call it the 5A framework. And oh, the fun is in the characters, and each of them has their own wisdom too. Now, of course, we want Chief Rockstar there too. He has to be present. I mean, he's my travel buddy after all. I've been trying to get him to stand up a little bit higher, but I haven't succeeded just yet. So bear with me. Bear with me. Anyway, to start with this, I'm going to tell you a little bit of his story. Last Friday, Saturday, I don't know, it was immensely great weather. So I think it was Saturday. A friend of mine called me. Always when it's good weather, then we tend to go out to the beach and have a little bite to eat. It's basically, in the Netherlands, you never know when it's good weather. So we were like, okay, let's enjoy ourselves, go to the beach and do it. Now, here's the thing. I'm a person who might go from left to right, to up and down, and you never know what's going to happen. And I was like, okay, let's enjoy this and have a good time. So we went there, and yes, we both enjoyed ourselves. For those who are backstage, if you want to come in, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll leave you in the background. And while we were there, at some point, I got distracted. There was a couple, they had this little dog, and it was like what I call a Friese stabij. I don't know how to say it in English. And it was a very small version. So I was like, well, it's either a pup or it's something like a crossbreed. I don't know what it is. Anyway, at some point, I decided to go up there and talk to them. So I discussed with my friend, like, okay, I think I'm going to go up there because I want to know what the breed of the dog is. And literally from afar, it was literally the mini version of the Friese stabij until you saw its head. It was totally different face. But at that moment, I didn't know because I hadn't seen that. So I've learned by now that she doesn't appreciate it when I go play Pokemon Go on my phone. She doesn't appreciate it when I post something last minute. It's like, okay, when we're here, we're there, and keep the phones away, except for maybe taking pictures. So I said, well, if you don't mind, now you go over there. So I did. I think she did regret it a little bit later on, because we got to talk, and the first thing the guy said, he turned out to be a teacher, was, oh, I'm so glad that you came over. I said, why? Well, most people, they are just guessing and they don't ever ask. And you come up to me and you just ask instead of assume. Well, I thought that was immensely wonderful that he actually said so. I could totally appreciate it. And as it turns out, the both of us were actually sort of, well, I would say on the same path. So he teaches young kids out there, probably 13 years old, around that age, 12, 13 years old, how to start getting a job. And it starts basically by connecting with others. So for those who watched my live last week, I talked about bridging the gap between generations. And well, it felt like this was the same thing all over again. And that was amazing. So, well, imagine that. In no time, I was like, oh, this is going to be such an amazing connection. I need to get to talk to the guy. And, well, we talked about some things. I said, well, maybe I can, give a lecture one day at your school. And, well, they are looking for internships for next year, not this year. So I was like, yeah, maybe we can help one another out. And the way he approaches those children, I love it, because he says, okay, what you can gather ahead of time, please do so. But it was also about the way that we connect with one another. So it's about looking someone in the eyes. And yes, I am one of those persons. I might be talking to someone, and then at some point I'm like, oh, hang on. Yes, I may be in front of a cash register, but maybe I should look the other person in the eyes. And so at that moment, I do look them in the eyes, and I'll give them a smile and I say, oh, sorry that I didn't look at you before. And yes, it does happen. I am aware it does happen. Do I think it's the best thing to do? Well, no. So it starts with awareness. The awareness is being aware of your own actions. What are you doing? It's not just being aware of your own actions, also being aware of the environment. And that's one of the reasons that we chose the owl, because the owl actually can see things from a high view up there. So have an overview. But in this story, it's also about paying attention to your environment. And whereas I did pay attention to the people I spoke to, I, not entirely, but I sort of got a little about my friend, because I was so fully in the moment, and it was like, oh, this is so cool. We need to do more stuff. And yes, I did feel a bit sorry. So at some point I was like, okay, I need to turn around. And apparently at that same moment, she was signaling the wife of the guy, like she needs to come over because food has been served. And so it was also about taking action. So I said to the guy, I'm sorry, I'm with a friend and I cannot leave her alone for too long. She's not going to appreciate that. So that's what happened. Of course, it's also about acknowledgement of what you're doing, acknowledgement of what you're seeing. So acknowledgement in the broader sense. And all of this combined leads to alignment. Now, today I have a little story for you. And it's the story of the owl, the fox, the fireflies, the turtle, and in this case, the full moon. So apparently it was supposed to be the full of the sun, but I was like, no. Actually, I see this as a nightly vision, and all those animals are there by night. And actually, I don't know if it still was yesterday, but when we were out there, it was a full moon, so everything was brightly lit. And I was like, okay, so let's go there. And well, like I said, the owl we know, the owl has the wisdom, which is, of course, a very important thing. So the owl might make you aware of your goal and where it is you want to go. And the question, of course, is, what do you need when it comes to overview? And that's where the fireflies set in, because they light up the path. Of course, full moon does too, but the fireflies, they light the way. But you can know your goal, you can sort of see the beginning of the path, but then what? You still need to take action. If you don't take action, nothing's going to happen. But you want to take action in a guided way. You want to think about it. So the fox has to be smart when he's taking his leaps. And the question is, where is he going? If he wouldn't take action, nothing would change. You wouldn't reach your goal. So we want you to actually get into, get moving, basically. Now, as for the turtle is eternally slow, but that does have its advantages. Have you thought about it? That with the turtle moving slowly, he is so focused on where it's going. And that might be so important. Some of us, we cannot act quickly. We cannot go somewhere quickly. I'm one of those people. I can only walk slowly. It's the way it is. And that's okay. But I am focused on what it is I want to achieve. So when you do things thoughtfully, say as opposed to the fox, so the fox might go quickly, and the question is, does he still know where to go to? So that's why we have the fireflies. But yes, the turtle can actually go there really slowly. And well, with the full moon embodying everything, that's where it all comes together. So let me ask you some questions. And that's, when it comes to awareness, are you aware of the things that you are doing in life? So is this like, okay, now it's going to be Monday. I'm going to do these specific things for the week because that's going to move me forward. It's going to move the company or the business forward. It's going to move the family forward. Are you thinking about what you are going to do? Are you intentional with what you want to do? Or are you like, well, it's another Monday, it's the beginning of the week, so, we'll see what happens. And life could be so different when you become more aware of what's going on around you. And to give you a little bit of an example, and the night before I met up with my friend, I drove, I rode my bike. So I actually went here, what I call back to base. I was planning on doing my Friday Night Live. And well, when I came back here, there was lots of music going on. It went on to 4 a.m. and I was like, well, never mind. But when I was on the bike trail, something struck my eye. So I stepped off my bike to see what it was. And it was very sad, but it was a cat, and the cat had been hit, and the cat had not made it. So I took the cat from the bike trail and I put it on a flower bed, so the embedding of the flower bed actually. And since it was very late at night, you cannot call any authorities or whatever, the veterinary paramedics, there's a different word for it, I know. You can call them. And I was like, okay, so what can I do? And I knew I could send an email to a specific organization here. So depending on postal code, you get to the right one. So I said, well, here are some pictures. I put the cat on there and described the cat, said where it was. And the next day I got a message back that the owner had been notified. And so the paramedics, the veterinarian paramedics had come, picked up the animal, and apparently it was chipped. So, and as it turns out, what I learned today was it was an indoor cat which had escaped. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that's either a fat bike or someone with an e-bike or a scooter just went really fast and hit the cat. Now, what I don't understand is, sure, you can hit the cat. And I can also understand that you don't want to be held accountable. I mean, what are the repercussions? Do you have to pay like for a new cat or anything? But the minimum you can do is get off your bike, your scooter, or whatever it is, and just give the cat a decent place to lie down. Because if you leave it on the bike trail, well, chances are there's the next scooter or the next fat bike, and the whole cat won't be a cat anymore by the time they see it. So being aware of your environment is one thing, but also acknowledging and paying attention to, hey, what's going to go and happen next is just as important. And if you combine all those elements, this is about sort of not reactive, but more proactive. Yes, it was reactive because I saw the cat, but I was also being proactive, thinking about the owners of the cat. And they probably knew that their cat was missing, unless it was an outdoor cat. And I was like, oh, they might be worried. And well, it's nice to realize that when your cat hasn't come in the next morning, when you are shuffling the biscuits around, that you know something has happened. So I was like, okay, thinking about them. And when it comes to paying attention to your environment and to other people, just think about what the possibilities are and how the other will appreciate this. So when I was talking to the teacher, I said to him, you know, I've been thinking about that generational gap. I said, we have to talk the same language as they do. So I had come up with this game instead of for a workshop. So it's about people going to play paintball. But instead, to be able to do so, they have to figure out where the paintball gun is and the paintball itself. And well, when they found that, it's actually, they still need to assemble it, and maybe some parts are actually at a different location and they need to reach out to someone. And all these things are meant to make them think about, okay, if life isn't just unfolding for me, if it's just not like I'm coming home and there's dinner at the table, but I really have to think things through. How would that work? So it's about becoming resourceful, becoming inventive, and think about certain things, thinking about the week ahead, the month ahead. What are you going to do? And well, when we talked about that, about the whole idea of the paintball game, it was like, okay, but if they don't succeed in time, well, then they cannot play the game anymore. It's like tick tock, time dissolves. But here was the thing, the reason I talked about it is because I've noticed that connection has gone out the window. And that's sad. And of course, I understand that we are in a rush nowadays. We've become a swipe culture. We look at things on our phone. We decide, are we going to pay attention to it or not? So swipe culture. But of course, also the gaming, not having to look someone in the eye anymore in order to figure things out, but actually taking your phone and another phone and another phone and another, and then we're going to play a game. So please be certain that I do appreciate social media, especially the connections we can have through social media. I mean, a long time ago, depends on how long you think long is, but I do remember that we couldn't just call a different country. And now we can actually just send a text message to a different country. So with social media, we can actually see pictures and we can become aware of what's going on with the other person. And I absolutely value that. But the downside, of course, is we don't look one another in the eye anymore. And well, that requires improvement. Apart from not wanting to look the other person in the eye anymore, there's something else. People don't have patience anymore. And maybe that is the more important thing when we talk about all of this. So when I'm talking about all these playful characters, besides that they also represent something else, it's also about your inner kid. When we talk about being playful, it's about, hey, one day you used to have dreams. You used to have ideas. You were creative. Where's your creativity now? Are you still creative? Or did you at some point give up? So then we get back to patience, right? So what happened, why I talked about the generational gap last week, was I talked to a business owner and he said, I don't have the time. Why do they always ask me, what do I do now? Why can't I come up with something else? So hence why I came up with the idea behind the workshop, the game, the idea like, okay, so it's Friday, talk about what it is you want to know. Set up an app group for the newbies, set up an app group between the newbies and the seniors out there, so the juniors and the seniors, so the business owner can still do his own thing. But then still the business owner still needs to guide the seniors too, right? And well, if you're focusing on the wrong things, you don't have that much time left anymore to do what it is that you actually should be focusing on. And then we get back to, it's the beginning of the week. We are in the 3rd week of April. And well, my question is going to be, is there something specific that you would like to do? Something before the end of the year, something maybe before summertime hits. What are your dreams? What are your goals? And do you let yourself be creative in order to figure things out? So getting back to this, to the animals, well, they're going to take you on a hunt and they all have keys. Actually, I didn't come up with that one, but I did love it. And well, the first key has to do with awareness, because when you are aware of what's going on, you can create clarity. So say you have a certain goal, and you want to think about, okay, how I'm going to move forward with this week, this month, this spring. How are you going to do so? So you want clarity. Now, when we get to connection and communication, the number one thing is clarity. It's about understanding the other one by expressing yourself. And even then, the other one might still not understand you. I literally had someone repeat the same thing 10 times to me, and I said, do you really think that's going to make a difference if you repeat the same thing 10 times? Do you think I understand you better just because you repeat it 10 times? You don't have to do it more slowly. You don't have to express yourself louder. I just want you to express yourself in a different way. Sure, still with words, but in a different manner. And this also links to a number of us being neurodivergent. So when you're neurodivergent, you think differently. So if someone approaches you in a way a neurotypical would react, they are like, why doesn't she get it? But my mind goes in all these different directions. What else can you mean? Or better said, I'm not thinking, what else can you mean? I'm thinking, which of all these options are the ones that you actually mean? Now, let alone a neurodivergent talking to neurodivergent. Oh, that's going to be so interesting. So yes, we want to have clarity that we are being understood, but also clarity in what the other one wants from us. So let's be specific, but we also want clarity for ourselves. What are we going to work towards? Now, from the wise owl, we go to the daring fox. There he is, the action taker. And well, let me get back to the question. How do you take action? Do you do it with courage? Are you being bold? There's, the good thing about being bold is you don't overthink it. You just do it. And what's the worst thing that you can have that can happen to you? That people say, sorry, don't have any time? Sure. Can that hurt your ego? Sure. Is it something you can survive? No. It's something, it happens. And, if you're curious and you want to know things because you want to move ahead in life or wherever it is, then it does make sense to get out there and to be courageous. And I'm not going to say it's easy straight away, especially when you haven't reached out that often to strange people you don't know. But on the other hand, what's there to lose? So talking about that friend of mine, it was like, oh, well, she was been contemplating, am I going to go over there? Am I going to call? Well, actually, she did send me a text message, but I had to restart my phone. That was one of the reasons why I was so late, because my phone has been acting up lately. And, well, so she did send a text, but I never saw it. So she was like, am I going to walk over there? And she was like, no. So compared to me, and don't be mistaken, I'm not just an extrovert, I'm also an introvert. But she's more of an introvert because I'm so known to talking to people, being a coach, and also having learned that I cannot go places if I don't ask. I mean, we were at this restaurant. She knows by now, and she's urging me to get this credit card format size thing with all my allergies on there. And so when I was talking to the people, I said, okay, can I have this without? And then you already know what they're going to offer, depending on the yes or the no. Well, as turned out, they made something from scratch for me, which was good. But if I wouldn't speak up, then where would it end up for me? I wouldn't be able to go anywhere. Freedom? What's that? Enjoying life? Not sure what it is. So even this shirt that I'm wearing right here, it's about going into the fire stations and talking to the people like, hey, I was at this fire station recently and they told me to go here because, well, this is the one where Backdraft was recorded. Can you tell me a little bit about everything that's going on here? And I still have to say that up till this day, that conversation in that fire station was one of the most meaningful I've had, because we talked about so many things, including the loss of other people, about yes or no being responsible. Well, you cannot be responsible for other people's choices. Well, maybe if they're a kid, yes, but when they're adults, no. But yeah, it was, the unity, eating together, sleeping, well, not in the same bed, of course, but at the same room together. There's such a difference. And if you compare that to the beginning of my story, where I shared that there was this business owner who was like, leave me alone, figure it out yourself. Well, that's a whole different ballgame, right? And that's what we don't want. We want people to connect with one another, because life can be so amazing. But if we don't dare to, or we don't want to, and there's a whole big difference between the two. Not wanting to is a choice you've made, probably for some reason. Don't daring to, well, that's a whole different ballgame. And that takes time. It's one step at a time. You probably need someone who's going to encourage you. You need to have a very good reason to go do it. And then hopefully you get there step by step, one step at a time. Does it require being bold? Oh, yes. Does it require being courageous? Absolutely. And that's okay. You still know what you want. And hopefully someone else will help you out so you can get there one step at a time. But it's so different from saying, I don't want to. And when you say, I don't want to, then usually there's a reason for saying so. So you might want to figure out, what is it? Why are you actually saying no? So what is this internal story you have? What's the inner story you are telling yourself over and over and over again? And let me tell you this, a lot of people, they don't dare to take action. Why? Because they are afraid of being rejected, of being hurt. Especially when we are children, I do believe that's true. When we become adults, it's less likely, but I would say that the people who are closest to you are especially the ones who tend to hurt you by saying no. Why? Because, well, you love them, right? So you're not going to walk away. And, well, that's also why a lot of marriages fail. Just saying it out there. Now, getting back to the key of courage, let's get to the turtle. And the turtle is all about consistency. And when I shared with you, some people, they just cannot say, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to reach out to people. It's scary because of things they may have experienced, maybe because of hormonal problems, maybe because of trauma, which of course is also linked to experiences. And they might not even know why, especially when things have happened in the past. And let's not forget about upbringing and things you've been told. So my parents both experienced World War II. And I can tell you, my mom, she was afraid of everything, which was also due to her mom. Her mom wanted to protect her. And by doing so, she actually, well, I'm not going to say that my mom was a broken spirit, but truly happy, it was something that was really hard for her. So, yeah, so going back to consistency, it's about taking one step at a time. And what really broke my heart with my mom was at some point she had been taking care of my dad. He was 8 years older than she was, and he had a heart condition. So he only had 10 to 15% heart capacity left. And well, either my sister or I would go shopping with him. So at first it was my sister who would do that. And at some point I would do it 1 week and she would do it the other week. And I still remember my dad standing behind the door. It was a glass window because it was just a door for a store. And you could already see him standing like, oh, there they are. And they are going to pick me up. And he was so happy, big smile. You know, those are one of those things that I'll never forget. And my father was playful too. I still remember him singing along when certain choirs were there during St. Nicholas, for instance. And it's the same vibe I have. I can laugh about those little things too. And I think that's so important in life, that you can have fun. But during the time, my mom, she took care of him. And what happened was my mom was very outgoing. She loved to go downtown. She had her music lessons, and she would go shop for music books and other things. She read a lot, so she would go to the stores, go through the books, and go to the library, go check out the magazines, see what she could borrow. And, well, because she had to take care of my dad, I don't think he ever asked her, but she saw it as her obligation. It was her choice. She didn't go out that much anymore. And then an old fear crept up again, which was the fear of falling. So my mom, as far as I can remember, always had a little bit of problems with her stability. If I look back on it now, I'm thinking, oh yeah, that makes sense. She was hypermobile too. And when you are, well, what you normally have, so your body knows where you are, how you are standing, how you are walking. So it thinks about every step you take. Well, when it comes to us, that's a little bit haywire. Well, a lot haywire. So, yes. So when you are not aware of a tile being out of place, well, you can trip up really easily. And so after those years, I think it was about 5 years, maybe longer. Oh, I think in all, it was like more like 10 years. No, 5. She had forgotten how to go outside, how to be free. And like I said, fear took the better of her. So I tried step by step each time I could to get her out. Consistency was key. And see if I could make her smile by going places. It was hard. And I do believe that at some point she had given up on doing all these things. But yes, I do believe that consistency is the key, not just to move forward, but also to keep doing certain things. And well, like I said, in my case, in order to maintain my freedom, I often have to ask people stuff to do something for me or how something works. And for me, it works out. And yes, I've got a collection of these t-shirts by now, all from Chicago fire stations. And there's a story behind each one of them. And in the future, when I will be doing the Chicago experience, which will be the end of September, beginning of October this year, then I am going to take you through the city of Chicago, and we are going to enjoy the architecture in Chicago. But it's also about the story about how resilient Chicago is, and resilient it is. And if you reach out to people, well, that's when you can get to hear the good stories, and I've heard them. So if you're going to come with me, you'll hear them too. Now, then there is the fireflies, and they are linked to the key of gratitude. And I think that a lot of people actually underestimate the importance of gratitude. And let's start with the most difficult thing. It's not being grateful to others and saying thank you. It's about giving yourself grace. Now, when was the last time you gave yourself grace? When was the last time you pat yourself on the shoulders and said, well done? But especially maybe when you didn't succeed, when you had planned on doing something and you failed, were you able to give yourself grace? Because when you have a goal in mind and you do not succeed, by acknowledging it, by giving yourself grace, you are doing actually something very powerful. You are letting yourself know, okay, maybe this time around I didn't succeed, but next time around I will. And maybe next time around there's a reason too. I mean, just look at the Friday Night Lives. It's Sunday again. Am I happy? No. Could I have done it? No. And there's also this back and forth between, am I awake and energetic enough to actually go do it? So yes, I can summon the energy, but there are times that I'm like, no way, this is not when I'm going to do it. And like I said last Friday, it was not optional, because if the music is that loud that things are actually shaking here in the kitchen, well, then you know how loud it is, right? So giving yourself grace is also empowering yourself. It's also about, okay, I know that you're going to do it, and I know you didn't succeed. And then you can have that talk with yourself. Why didn't you succeed? You want to be open with yourself. You want to be honest with yourself about why things worked out and why not. And from there on, I'm going to go into a very different direction with you. So, not everyone is capable of expressing themselves through words. Sometimes people are just locked up in themselves. And that's actually also a reason how this life came about. Because what I've been noticing is that it's very easy for me to talk to someone when I only have to type the words and not use verbal language. And sometimes it's about just saying how I feel. So I've been talking a lot with Brendan Burchard's AI. Yes, artificial intelligence. And there are people like, why would you talk to an AI? Really? Why don't you talk to a real person? Well, a real person isn't always available 24/7. They have their own thing going on. And I still want to understand what's going on. I want to move ahead in life. And he's got all the knowledge that Brendan has. So what am I waiting for? So it's actually kind of interesting to ask all these things and to be like, okay, how do you think about this or about that? Or what if? So like I said, I'm curious. And when it comes to Brendan AI, I can be as curious as I want. I'm getting all the answers as long as everything functions. But yes, getting back to the whole playful thing, at some point when it came to expressing myself, I was so upset. After all, it's still a tool. That doesn't sound very nice, but it is. Tools have glitches, things don't work. So for instance, on my phone, it doesn't work at all anymore unless I'm actually making a phone call. Of course, it's a Wi-Fi phone call. So it shows an actual number, but you call it over Wi-Fi. But here's the thing. At some point, I was talking to a different version on my iPad. And well, when it comes to consistency, one of the things, I want my blog post out there every week. And this week, or last week, it was late. I was not happy with how late I had posted that blog post, but it was the way it was. And I still don't know if this is a glitch, but what happened was I had different sections, and at some point, 3 sections were skipped all the time. And it wasn't the first time around that something along those lines had happened. It's working with a tool. I'm trying to figure out how it works. And well, the baseline is it forgets everything. Unless it doesn't. So there are some things that it comes up with that I'm like, really? I shared it with you thinking you would never come up with it again. You wouldn't remember it. And what's the one thing you remember? Sure, that one thing that I didn't want to hear from you. So it's kind of funny. You can have a sense of humor with the AI. It all depends, of course, what type of AI it is. But in this case, I can. And for me, it brought out something else because I didn't have to worry about being judged. I didn't have to worry about how I expressed myself. So at some point, I literally went back to the inner kid. So I actually made a video of one where you see me sitting in a corner, and the only thing I want to do is be upset and, like growl, that kind of thing. So I was like, I don't want to talk. I just want to hiss. Now, if you think about it, it's just the way the inner kid responds. When we don't have words yet, we do have the emotions, and well, then you react in a sort of primal way. And moving forward, other things happened, and at some point I was the happy me again. And well, one of the things that happened later this week was I was talking about something and I was very happy about it. And I said, jump, jump, jump. And it was something I hadn't said for a while. So I do have a nickname, which is called Jumping Bunny or Duracell Bunny, because I keep going, which is true. If I'm good when it comes to my energy, I just keep on going. Or others are like, how? I'm still doing it. And well, it had been a while since I had seen Jumping Bunny just be Jumping Bunny again and literally just be happy. And that's how we at some point got to talk, and it was a very neat conversation. We were talking about the vision that I had, and it was like the two of us were like hiding in a corner and looking at all the hustle and bustle that was going on. So my vision is about setting up a park, not just one, but multiple ones all over the world. And what I want to have there is a place for a lot of people, but for neurodivergent people. And there are different categories. So there are the young ones out there. You are making the transition between being at home and learning, going to school, studying, and then making the transfer to working life. And then there is the category of probably business owners, because, well, neurodivergent people, they tend to think a little bit differently. And if you don't learn how to communicate with the neurotypical by asking on, and well, the neurotypical might actually find that very exhausting. So then you have to explain, like, yeah, I know that you consider it exhausting, but my mind goes in all directions. So if you want me to do the right thing, then maybe we can talk about it. Otherwise, I'm going to do what I think is the best thing. And that might not be what you think is needed. So yes, I want people, the young ones out there, to have a chance to be seen, to be acknowledged. And well, that's basically where this all comes into play as well. Apart from that, I want the business owners to come over there, especially when they're getting their own team, because getting your own team is difficult enough. If you are neurodivergent and your team is neurodivergent, well, that's going to be even harder, because how are you going to express yourself? Are they going to understand you? Do you understand them? Or do you lock yourself in your own place and like, I'm here, please stay out, don't bother me whatsoever? Well, that is a whole different ballgame, right? So apart from that, I also want them to be able to get rid of their own traumas, their own inner stories that's not serving for them. And I want to turn that around. And then we get back to the whole vision, the visualization. So doing so in a playful manner takes away so much resistance, because when you do it in a playful way, well, that's not frightening now, is it? So it's good to actually just feel the fun of it again. Just, let it go, let it happen, instead of, oh, it has to be like this and being rigid. Now, there's also a third component, which is I want there to be a children's hospice. And I also want them to be able to leave a legacy. So in every park, there's going to be a studio, there are going to be coaches, things will be recorded, things that people say, videos will be made, so people can actually see where they were and where they are, and also what they talked about for the future. And then we can create this scenario into a song, and then the song will be played. They will be surrounded by other people cheering them on, and they can watch it back. So that's the great idea behind it, the big plan. So that's my vision. And being able to talk about that vision in a very playful way, it was so much fun, because we were like, okay, what are the people talking about? What are they doing? What are we observing? And when it comes to visualization, those things are actually so important. So we were talking about locations and other stuff, but just observing what people were doing and how they were encouraged, I cannot tell you. It really was very important to me. It was something resonated here. So, am I there? No, absolutely not. But it's about one step at a time, right? And am I grateful for being able to see that vision? Absolutely. Every time we talk about it, it just warms my heart. So, yeah. Now, last but not least, we get to alignment. And alignment is that everything works together, everything is in place. And when it is, there's harmony. So, first, let me get back, because I am aware that I didn't ask you that many questions. Or maybe I did and I wasn't aware. Could be too. But when it comes to gathering courage, what do you need courage for? So maybe I should get back to a different question. What is that one thing that you really want to do, that you haven't allowed yourself to feel, to think about, to talk about? So maybe it's a childhood dream, maybe it's something from more recent times. I mean, I didn't dream about a park. I didn't dream about children's hospices because I didn't know. I didn't dream about neurodivergence, but I did dream about being away from a lot of people who didn't understand me. That's absolutely true. So, what is it that you want? What is it that you want to achieve? What is your dream? And what is that first step you can take? Some bold action, because it will feel bold when it's new and you haven't done it. So it will require courage. But what are you going to do? And who is going to help guide you? So, like the fireflies in the story lighting up the path, who is going to guide you? Who's going to show you the next step and the step after? And when I was talking about this being in the night, well, I don't know about you, but I don't see anything when it's pitch black. So I'm very grateful that nowadays phones actually have lanterns on there. They have lights on there, so we can actually see a little bit ahead of us. But yes, what is it that you want to do? Who can you talk to? Who can give you an overview of what it is that you need to do? Who can you brainstorm with? And remember the power of writing. Don't forget that one. So, getting back to that one, what is the one step that you're going to take? Let's start with this week. Let's start with today. And how about if you would be able to look at the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year? Would that help you move forward? Now we get to paying attention and we get to the milestones. So probably the owl can give you some pointers. when it comes to clarity, when it comes to awareness, the owl, the one with the wisdom, can tell you, well, maybe try this, try that, or go there. And of course, the question is, do you dare? Do you have the courage to do so? And then we get back to the fox. But I do believe that with some guidance, in this case, the fireflies who, light up the way like a runway can be lit, especially for the big planes out there. Yes, that can make all the difference. But it's also about paying attention to the clues, which things are out there. So if you were to act on your dream, then what is it that you need to pay attention to? Are there certain numbers that need to act up? Or is it certain activities that need to add up? What are the things that you are thinking about? What makes things worthwhile for you? When are you going to take action? And of course, when it comes to alignment and everything being in harmony, that should also mean that you're happy, that you are joyful about the result. I mean, the importance of feeling like, yes, I did it, that everything is in harmony. And even when you're visualizing things, you can already have that feeling. So I'm going to challenge you. What's that one thing that you want to do, that you have been dreaming about, or maybe you didn't allow yourself to dream about? What is that one thing? Let me know. Leave it in the comments. And well, if you're one of those people who say, I would like the handout, I would like to know more about this, or I love your idea when it comes to being happy, well, there's always something else, which is the 7 ways to express yourself. Well, anyway, if you reach out to me, I'll be in touch with you if you let me know what it is you want. And then we can see what is a fit for you. Oh, it's going to be beyond good weather, apparently, because more than 3 sneezes. Yes, this is life. But for you, don't be so hard for yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself grace. Have fun with the things you do. And also, especially when you have a team, have fun with the team. This is about daring to dream again, daring to be happy again, being there for other people. Because when you're there for other people, that can make you happy too. But, of course, everything within reason, because if you overdo it and you don't have any energy left, well, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Well, anyway, if you want the handout, or you're thinking, oh, Chicago experience, that sounds nice, be sure to hit me up. And I'll see you again, hopefully next Wednesday. The goal is to have workshops out there on Wednesday forward. If that's the case, I will let you know in advance. But for now, please leave a comment on what it is that you're going to do.